Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. So today I've been dying to get into this subject. We are at the end of the year. The countdown to the new year has started. Do you feel it? I mean, Christmas hasn't come yet, but it's like coming. Like everything is ending. That is it. We are almost to 2022. So I think I can feel comfortable already telling you guys the top 5 brands and the worst 5 brands of the year. And today's video, I decided to focus on the 5 worst brands of the year. But I'm going to say this in a little bit less of a negative. I'm going to say the ones that didn't impress me a lot this year, okay? So these are not like horrible brands. Actually, there's one in here that's a fantastic brand, but they did not impress me. I couldn't put it in the best of the year 5 top brands because they didn't impress me. So instead of saying the worst brands of the year, I think we're going to say the ones that impressed me the least this year, okay? We're going to have some top name brands in here, okay, guys? And don't get mad at me. I'm going to tell you guys my reasoning because there's always a reasoning why I feel this way. And this was a lot easier for me to do. So the reason I'm starting with the worst is because I only have 3 so far for my top 5 brands of the year. I only have 3. I have 2 slots left, and I'm really trying to add brands, and I can't find them. So I'm gonna film that one next. That will be my next video, but I need to figure out that last brand. So we're gonna start off with the worst brands of the year, aka the ones that impressed me the least. And let's start right now. But don't forget to go ahead and hit subscribe to the channel and put on your notifications. So the first one, in no particular order, is going to be Fenty. So Fenty is a brand that I'm going to tell you guys, they started to impress me when they came out in the market. There was something about their brand that was so cool, so unique, and I just could never wear their foundations. They have too much scent in it. They get me itchy, and I just kept on wanting to try this brand and try this brand. And this year, I thought that there was going to be something come out from Fenty that was going to really make me get into Fenty. And every launch that came out, I was kind of just like, yeah, you know, like it was kind of like one of those, like it would draw you in and then you would go, yeah, but not really. I think the 2 that really made them land on this list was the gloss bomb thing that you put your fingers in during the middle of this craziness that's happening, that I just thought that it was kind of just like an off timing for that kind of release. I know maybe some people don't think of it that way, but just for me, I was kind of just like, I don't know. It just didn't seem well thought out. And then there was that Bomb Posse palette that had a cool looking color story. I mean, it wasn't nothing out of this world. It was very basic, but it could have just been a very good basic palette for a brand, because every brand should have some type of basic palette in their lineup, you know? But it was supposedly the worst quality ever. Like, so many complaints about this palette. And it's almost like, how could you release a basic palette and make it bad? That could be like your best seller for the existence of the brand, because a basic palette sells so much better than any other kind of palette. So the reason that I put them here is because of that. It's almost like they're releasing stuff, and I think that there is a loss of the creative design and thought process that I think that they launched with. It kind of has disappeared, and it's almost just like product, and I don't see that. And I don't see that consumer attachment anymore. I want to know from you guys, do you feel the same? There is some gimmicky things with them, like the clipping the stuff together, and they like try to sell those type of things, but I mean, you're not going to sell me on a palette that clips to a face palette when the palettes suck. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about the magnet that makes them stick together. Products have to be good. So that is why I'm putting Fenty here. I think Fenty has the ability to go to the top. They do. But it's just, it needs a little bit more attention. It needs to be a little bit less of a fast producing machine and a little bit more thought out, I think. I mean, at least this year. Maybe years in the past they were a little bit better, but this year they did not impress me. All right, so number 2 is one that obviously I think you guys are going to know is Hourglass. They did release one of my favorite palettes, which is the volume 2 of the ambient edits, the 2 powders in the bronzer palette, which I love it. Volume 2 is so good, but they advertised it a little tricky last year, like acting it was like for deeper skin tones, but it was really for medium skin tones. And then this year they announced that they were going to come out with the deep one, so it was almost like the comeback, like, okay. It was almost like, look, they're listening, they're doing their volume 3, how awesome. But and then they come out with this curator palette, which I have talked about before. The price tag on this thing is just so high, so out of, like, I just don't understand it. Like, that sounds like something like a less expensive brand does, you know, like you don't care about designing because it's a less expensive brand. But like these top tier brands, no, you design it for me. I almost feel like Hourglass is that brand that they really want to stay in that top tier category of expensive, really luxurious makeup, but they almost take it to an extreme where it's kind of just like, it needs to be expensive just to be expensive because that's the price point we're at. Like, I just feel that way with their brand. And if they were coming out and launching such cool, innovative, creative products with amazing quality and they had these high price tags, I mean, I would be totally on board. I would probably even pay the high price tag because of how innovative the stuff is. But they do not do that for me, except for their powders. Their powders are beautiful and I really love their powders. I'm sure that they have some other products that are great too. And it's not even about just doing things that are like cool, because they can have a brand like a Charlotte Tilbury, and Charlotte Tilbury has a very basic brand if you think about it. Her color stories are almost always the same, but there is something about the launches. There's something about the quality. There's something about the thought process that you almost feel like, you know, Hourglass almost makes you feel like they're taking your money and not giving you something that's worth it. That's how I feel. All right, so next on the list is Anastasia Beverly Hills. Okay, so ABH is on this list because they came back, right? So they came back and they had been gone for a while. Everybody was wondering when they were going to come back. What were they going to launch? They came out with these really pretty cream blushes. I like the cream blush. I also really like the cream, I also really like the cream bronzer. They came out with some nice stuff, right? But then they launched a palette and they launched it with pigments in it. It was a pretty palette, but it kind of had like an old school idea of putting the blush with the palette. And I don't know, it didn't seem to me like an Anastasia is back launch. Any of it, between the bronzers or the cream blushes or the palette, it just seemed off. Like, it wasn't a bad launch. And like I said, like, some of these are not like they're horrible brands or like that I think their launches were just terrible. It's just the excitement wasn't there. I think that the cream bronzers got me excited and the blushes I was kind of excited for, but that palette really got me like, I hate the fact that they're including pigments in their eyeshadows more now, kind of like Norvina does. And I don't know, I thought that when their brand came back, it was going to be this beautiful, amazing launch. And then there was going to be like 2 of them that would just really get you like, wow, ABH is back. But I don't feel that way. I kind of feel like they came out with some cute stuff. All right, so this is one that some people are going to 100% disagree with me. Okay, so I am ready for it, guys. But I kept on taking this brand off and putting it back on and taking it back off and putting it back on. And then finally, I put it back on because of the launch that is releasing from Pat McGrath. So Pat McGrath is in this list. Now, remember, this isn't the worst brands. These are ones that just don't inspire me, or they just have released things that have gotten me uninspired by their brand. Pat McGrath keeps coming out with pink. Fine, I get it. Charlotte Tilbury has her thing with pillow talk and everything is a pillow talk, okay? But she comes out with different things, okay? Pat McGrath, I don't expect pillow talk from. I expect really cool, creative, artsy, futuristic, space age mothership, like what she is making her brand be, you know, like the diamonds and the crazy lacquer packaging that's like amazing, and this glittery astral formula that you've never seen in your life. She's not selling herself as a Charlotte Tilbury, which is like very easy, beautiful, natural makeup, yay, pillow talk. She is saying, I am the futuristic mothership, you know? And then to see pink in every single launch, like it was almost like Divine Rose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When she launched her Valentine's collection, she like re-released the Divine Rose 2, was it? And then she also launched the Eternal Eden, which is like a pinky palette. Then she did it again with Utopian. It was almost like another pinky-ish palette. Then she announces this Bridgerton collection, and the thing is damn pink, and it's like 2 pinks. Even the Celestial Divinity, the mattes were pink. Like it was just like pink everywhere, everywhere. And you know, like if you are a Pat McGrath collector, like you want to buy a lot of their products, how many pinks do you need? You know, so like I would expect that this would be changing up. Like, yes, you can have a pink moment, but once that moment is like, once you got that moment, move on to another moment, you know, like let's do something a little different. You know, Natasha Denona does this really good. Like she'll have a Circle Loco come out that you're like, whoa, and then all of a sudden it'll go to like the retro that's a muted down burgundy palette, and you're like, okay, these are super different. But Pat McGrath keeps doing the same thing. So I don't think this is a bad brand. If anything, it's one of my favorite brands, but she did not inspire me this year. If anything, she kind of disappointed me because I was considering putting her as my 1 year, 1 brand. But I don't need a whole year worth of pink makeup when I don't like the color pink on my lids. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pick her for 2022 because if she keeps coming out with pink, I'll die, you know? So yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I was really planning on picking her, but okay, so the last brand, number 5, is going to be Urban Decay. And Urban Decay is in here because they released the Wild West, which was a cool palette. Ended up realizing I don't use it as much as I probably should use it. But then they came out with that weird cyber palette that I was like, what are you? And then other than that, what did they come out with? Like, I just feel like it was like cool and then like blah. So like they kind of uninspired me. I thought once that Wild West palette came out, it was going to be like, that's it. Like they're going to be coming out with cool stuff. And then it just went downhill. So I don't know. I don't get it. It's a very interesting brand. It's an interesting brand because it's been around for a really long time, but it doesn't excite me as much as it used to. And I kind of just like thought maybe they were going to do something cool for 2021 and it just didn't go there. So yeah. Anyways, so those are the 5 brands that did not inspire me this year. They are not the worst brands. I want to keep saying that because some of these brands are actually some of my favorite brands, but they just didn't do a good year for me. They have a chance to make it up to me next year. Okay? Pat McGrath, I want to see a different color story, please. Okay? Like I've said, for Valentine's Day, can you just like kill the rose? Like just like think of thorns and like evil stuff for Valentine's Day and give us like a green dark palette that's just like opposite of roses. The roses burned, they disappeared, you know? Just burn the roses. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what brands have uninspired you in 2021 that they just didn't do what you wanted. Leave me that down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.